class, this is Dr. Brace, and this is a quick lecture to talk about how to evaluate your program. So some basic terminology related to evaluation. Evaluation is the process to determine whether or not your program is effective. So you're going to be using predetermined criteria that's identified by stakeholders, and you will use measurement to determine whether or not you are meeting those criteria. It's important to evaluate a program because your stakeholders are going to want to know whether or not the funding that they've provided is making a difference. Is this something that is worth the money that they've provided you, assuming that you've gotten money from stakeholders, or the time being allotted to the program? Is it worth it? Are you making an impact? So evaluation is just looking at whether or not your program has been effective so you can make decisions whether or not you're going to continue the program. It can help you identify if there are areas that need improving, and then you can make those improvements, or depending on your results, you might forego the program and no longer use it. So formative evaluation is the process to assess and improve your quality. So that's what you're going to determine to see if the program has been developed in a quality way and whether or not you need to make any changes. And then summative evaluation is looking at determining whether or not the program has met the objectives you set. So has it been effective? You'll have process evaluation that looks at the program and overall how the program was delivered, and was it delivered in the way that it was intended to be. So did you intend to have 12 one-hour sessions of your curriculum? Did you deliver all 12? Were they all an hour? Did you use the curriculum you indicated? You'll look at participant engagement and attendance, and this will help you figure out what happened during the program implementation, what went well, and what could have worked better, and you can use that to also help you with refining the program. You'll do process evaluation at the end of the program because you'll be collecting data to do the evaluation throughout the program. Impact evaluation is part of your summative evaluation. So this is also done at the end of your program. And this is looking at your intermediate measures, such as behavior change, changes in attitudes, knowledge, and awareness. So thinking back to the logic model you develop, your impact evaluation is going to be those longer term outcomes that you're going to be measuring. And then outcome evaluation is your endpoints. This is again done at the end of your program, and it's looking at whether or not your program had an impact on your larger health issues, such as a decrease in a disease incidence, or whether or not you've decreased the number of injuries and things like that. So you're wanting to determine whether or not your program achieved the objectives to promote health. So we've worked this semester on developing SMART objectives, and then evaluation is what you're going to use to measure whether or not you met those objectives. You do this so that you can improve program implementation, and then it also makes sure that you're being held accountable to those who are funding you, to the community in which you're working in, and to your stakeholders. Additional purposes of evaluation are to increase community support for initiatives. So if you're showing that you're including the community in the development of the program, and then it is indeed successful, that may get more community support to continue the program. You also can use evaluation to contribute to the scientific base for community public health interventions. So this term, you've learned about 4 different evidence-based curricula that were developed and evaluated, the Diabetes Prevention Program, the DARE program, those programs we looked at both in week 1 and then also in this week. Evaluation lets you contribute to that science base so that other people will know what has been effective, and it lets them see programs that they could adopt or adapt to meet the needs of their specific population. You also can use evaluation to inform policy decisions. So is there something that you learned from the evaluation of a program that we could use that information at the macro level to make changes within a community to help improve the health of that community? So this is figure 13.1 from the text, and it is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention framework for program evaluation. And I believe the link for this is also in Canvas, so you're going to be able to access this information and get more detail. But with evaluation, it is a cyclical process as depicted in this figure. You're going to engage stakeholders. You'll describe the program to them. You'll design your evaluation, gather credible evidence. You'll come up with conclusions and justify those. You'll share those lessons. And you want to make sure that you're focusing on utility, feasibility, propriety, and accuracy when working in evaluation. There are some issues or barriers that can happen when you are conducting an evaluation. In some cases, evaluation is not incorporated into the program planning process. So a program might be like, oh wait, we were supposed to evaluate this, but we forgot. So then they try to pull data together after the fact to be able to determine if the program was effective, and it isn't necessarily going to give you usable information. So it's always best to start planning how you're going to evaluate your program while you're planning your program. That can ensure that you have the resources necessary in order to conduct your evaluation, because that is a practical issue that does come up. Other issues are that the effects of the program are difficult to detect because you might be working in small groups, or if you have a small N or a small number of participants, you may not have a large enough sample to detect whether or not there was change with statistical analyses. So that can be problematic. You might also have a program where the change comes more slowly than you have time to collect data, or you might see a short-term change, but it doesn't last. Also, another practical issue is that the length of the time allotted for the program is not realistic because of the nature of behavioral change. So those are some things to consider. Additionally, other issues are that it's difficult to make association between cause and effect. So that makes evaluation a little bit more difficult. And there's also, when you're providing a program, it's not happening in a vacuum. That's not the only thing that people are doing with their time. There are other programs going on that they could be part of. There are health communication campaigns that they could be exposed to. They could have someone in their family who's doing something and teaching them from their experiences. So because there are all these confounding factors, it's really difficult to isolate the program effects on that priority population. And then your stakeholders for your program, they may or may not value evaluation. So that can play a role or a barrier in you being able to conduct a program evaluation. When you are developing your program, it should, as I've said multiple times this term, it should begin with the development of your program goals and objectives. And your formative evaluation will give you information based on program monitoring that lets you see what's working and what isn't, and that way you can modify the program and improve it. You'll want to collect baseline data for your program, and this is what you would compare with the data that are collected at the end of the program, so that you could have a pre-post analysis that you match pairs to determine whether or not there was a change before the program to after the program. Summative evaluation needs to be planned and developed early based on your goals and objectives. You need to consider ethics when developing evaluation. There should be no harm that come to your participants, and that should be overall for the program and everything related to it. Evaluation should not delay delivery of the program products or services that could improve health. So making sure that you're providing your participants what they need to be healthier, that's important. Participants should always be informed of the purpose and potential risks and consent before participating. All data should be managed in a efficient manner that makes sure that it is held confidential, so that your participants aren't concerned of their personal information getting shared, or it should be anonymous so that it can't be shared because you don't know specifically who it goes to. An IRB, or Institutional Review Board, should be used to evaluate your evaluation procedures if necessary. The person who conducts the evaluation should be trained in an evaluation. They should be involved with the program, and those who are not connected with the program, they would be your consultant, and it's always best to have them as part of the team, but it isn't always feasible. An internal evaluator is more familiar with your organization and your history. They know the decision-making style of those in the organization, and they can communicate technical results frequently and clearly. And since they're part of the team, they may not be as costly. A disadvantage is they could be biased or have a conflict of interest, because if they're part of your team, they're wanting to see effectiveness of your program. But hopefully they are able to control their bias and they don't influence things in an inappropriate way. An external advisor or evaluator can be more objective and have a fresh perspective. They can make sure that there are unbiased evaluations occurring, and they typically can bring more technical expertise, but they can be more costly. And summing up, characteristics of a good evaluator: they need to have experience in the type of evaluation you're doing. They need to be comfortable with both quantitative data sources, so numbers, and then also qualitative data sources, where you might be meeting with participants to ask about their experiences with the program. Your good evaluators are able to work with a wide variety of stakeholders, and they can develop innovative approaches to evaluation. They also want to make sure that evaluation is incorporated into all program activities. And again, this is best done when you're planning the program. They will understand the risks and benefits of evaluation, and they will provide all of the findings necessary. So in summary, evaluation is important. It tells you whether or not your program was effective, whether or not you've met your goals and objectives, and it allows you to make sound decisions related to the program. It also occurs before, during, and after the program implementation. Ethics are important to consider, and you also want to make sure that the evaluation is well designed, that you have a strong evaluator on your team or external, and that you share and use your findings. That is everything on this lecture for evaluation. Please definitely read the text, and please let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.